What's going on, my PT peeps, my Walking Dead family, my fighters? I'm One Eye Bright, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 5, titled Out of the Ashes. Spoiler warning for all things Walking Dead. Review, recap, breakdown, discussion, just all these different things. So if you haven't seen the episode 1105, Out of the Ashes, it was on AMC Plus today, Sunday morning. Stop watching now if you don't want to know this information, but overall, it's another good episode. I've enjoyed all 5 episodes of The Walking Dead Season 11 so far. And if you love The Walking Dead, hit that subscribe button, like, share, subscribe, help support the PT channel any way you can. We truly appreciate it, guys. But the episode starts with a dream. Well, a nightmare. Aaron's nightmare. He's walking in the woods with Gracie. He's surrounded by a savior, a wolf, some walkers, and some whisperers, and he's brutally stabbed and attacked and killed by these people. He wakes up. It was all a dream. He wakes up in a cold sweat and he's like, ugh. But he puts on his prosthetic, well, his gauntlet. If that is not an Easter egg to the MCU that Ross Marquand is in, by the way, to the Infinity Gauntlet. But Jerry walks over people, steps over people, and everybody's basically living in a couple houses because I'm assuming the Whisperers destroyed the other homes. But Jerry steps over people. He's like, sorry, because he's got to go to the bathroom. So he wakes up, takes his morning piss, and as he's looking out, he sees that walkers have breached the walls and got into Alexandria. Not sure why people aren't watching out and security measures aren't being taken, but a walker gets in. Well, several walkers get in, and one's chomping on unknown Alexandria. And there's a bunch of walkers in this episode, in contrast to last episode, where I don't even think there was one. Well, there's one dead walker that Daryl used for the guts trick, but all these walkers come in like they were welcomed in, like, hey guys, we're here for the party. What's up? What's going down? But it reminds me a lot of the prison when the walker was kind of walking up the fence, and I don't know if it's a callback, but Aaron is in danger there as a walker's about to get him, but he's safe. We don't lose anybody in this episode. We had enough losses so far in 1102 and 1103, but the walkers are trying to get in, and they kill a bunch of walkers, secure the area, bang on the walls, and they secure the walls for right now. And then we see a VHS style 4x3 video of basically the orientation video to the Commonwealth. And all I have to say is there's red all over the Commonwealth. So I don't know if it's foreshadowing that something major is going to go down there. We're not sure what to believe, but it's on the banners, it's on the walls. And there's a lot of it in this episode from the very beginning to the very end of it too. But the Commonwealth, we see the seal. It's very government oriented, political, because it's the governor, Pamela Milton. We don't know what state it is, but Lance Hornsby is the director of operations. He's the face of the orientation video, and everything is safe and sound here, and everything is great if you play by the rules. They actually use money to pay for things, because when we see later on that Stephanie, the fake Stephanie, pays for the ice cream with a $5 bill. They got a stadium, a hospital. They really have everything you need to survive, and it's a huge 50,000 plus community. So are we going to see Ezekiel saved here? I hope so, right? Because he has cancer possibly. We see elderly people. There's people here from all different age groups, and they point that out as caregiving. Then we see this message is approved by Pamela Milton. Kind of like when we see the political ads. So they're very government oriented and politically driven. We see that it's our group watching the orientation video, and they're the only ones in there. Yumiko's not buying it. She's like, well, that's great, Pamela Milton. And Lance Hornsby does call her the governor, Pamela Milton, so the female governor. And we all know how Woodbury turned out. But they get assignments. They're all different, with Yumiko having the most status. When she goes to ask questions about that she didn't have and a person to contact, she hands the letter to this guy, and he's like, oh, sorry, I'll gladly help you with that. Like, wow, she's someone of power. I'm going to kiss her butt. And we'll see later on that she reunites with her brother. The group talks about what to do next. They decide to go to Hilltop because of supplies, and they need to get stuff there. And what else are they going to do? Hopefully get some food. Rosita talks about what's going to happen if they don't find anything, like any game around there to hunt. We'll have to see what's going to happen there. But they go to Hilltop, and we'll talk about that later. But they go to Hilltop, and it's kind of sad because it's the first time they've been inside since the Whisperer War. But it's Aaron, Lydia, Carol, and Jerry, and they find some Whisperers there, so they're still around. Judith is teaching the kids how to use swords, which is pretty important. The future of The Walking Dead, the next generation. As they're using swords and practicing, they see a walker, a child walker, is being tormented by some punk teenagers. This is Jeffrey Morgan's son. In real life, his name is Gus, but we see this walker being picked on by the teenagers. Judith says it's dangerous, stop doing that. This punk teenager pushes Judith down, like, why would you do that? But he's a bully. Judith's not going to stand for that. And he says, that's why your mother abandoned you. That pisses me off, probably everybody off, because you don't say that about Judith, and you don't talk about Michonne like that. So Judith stands up, And in the spoilers, it said gun, but here it's a sword. She's like, yeah? Say that again. He's like, okay. And he calls her a psycho, and he's scared. So this kid needs to go, right? You don't pick on Judith. You don't put anybody down like that. But he's a punk kid. My question is, where did all these kids and these people come from? We never saw them before. They just magically shown up in Alexandria. Yumiko goes to the bakery, and it's Elodie's bakery, I believe. If you know the comic, you know what we're talking about. This is the guy running the bakery. That is not Yumiko's brother. This is Tommy. He drops the cake just like Michonne and Elodie. It's the same exact thing that happens in the comic, but here it's remixed for the show with Yumiko in place of Michonne and Tommy in place of Elodie. So it's the same, but it's different. I just felt like, wow, look at all that red behind them. And oh man, you drop the cake, you see Elodie's sweet treats or whatever, Elodie's treats on his name badge. So you're like, oh man, what a waste. That was a giant cake. Then we see the ice cream truck. So a lot of sweets and treats, and the Commonwealth looks great. It's a great place to be, but is it fool's gold, right? What's actually going on here? So we see that Elaine, I believe is this woman's name, and she's giving ice cream to Stephanie and Eugene. But you have to watch this pretty closely, the whole interaction here with them. It's pretty interesting because if you know this channel, you know that this is the real Stephanie. That's played by Margot Bingham. And she doesn't say anything to Eugene because her voice probably would have gave it away. But she takes ice cream, not sure where she's going with it, but she picks up an order and she takes it away. But as she picks up the ice cream tray and she walks away, she looks at Eugene. So what is going on here? Why is this the real Stephanie looking at Eugene and Stephanie? Is it all a ploy? Is it just safeguarding herself? Or is it a test? And I think Eugene's going to pick up something here because he asks her, the real Stephanie, if one of those is Rocky Road. And she doesn't say anything because her voice would have gave it away. You have to watch that. It's definitely pointed out as she didn't reply. As she walks away, Eugene's kind of confused. But also, look at the $5 bill that Stephanie has in her hand, or Stephanie, the fake Stephanie. She pays with real money, paper money, US currency. So I got questions about that. Why? But they enjoy their ice cream, and I forget what the ice cream is, but it's not Rocky Road. So it's kind of interesting that it's the opposite of what he asked the real Stephanie about, what he got from the fake Stephanie. As they're walking around, you see all these Easter eggs and connections. You see the Milton Hotel, which I would assume the Miltons are an old political family that has a lot of power for many generations. But you see a fire station, I'm guessing the red door is right there. But also as they're walking, pick up different little things, which The Walking Dead does a great job really every season with Easter eggs, callbacks, connections to the comic, and so forth. But as Eugene's walking with Stephanie, he sees a woman here with a baby, and he has to think that's Rosita and baby Coco back home in Alexandria and if they're safe. And it's very quick, but Hawthorne and Gibbs law offices. Michonne's last name in the comic is Hawthorne, and she's a lawyer. Also, the woman in front of the door kind of looks like Elodie from the comic, so is that a callback as well? Gotta love the Easter eggs. It's a small town feel, but it's also got a bunch of property. You see the buildings in the distance that were added digitally most likely. But I believe this set is at the old lot of the studio where the prison, sanctuary, and the garbage dump was. But Eugene and Stephanie sit. Stephanie looks up and she looks around like, are they being watched? Where's the security detail? And ultimately, Eugene knows that they can't stay here. They need to get back to Alexandria and help our group, or at least make contact, because he's worried about them. Mercer has been watching them the whole time, and I guess this is a test because later on, Eugene, Stephanie, and the group are arrested, everyone but Yumiko. And I guess it's the daycare because all the kids are in this one house and they're just running around. The place is a mess. And then we see Judith comes in the house and you see the planks on the floor right there. It's obvious. Those are the same planks from the front porch that Carl and little Judith had their handprints on. And I gotta say, this made me pissed off. And when Judith was upset, it made me upset. And it's a nice moment, a very touching moment with Judith and Rosita. And Rosita is basically being there for Judith. Rosita is basically Judith's aunt. And Rosita tells Judith all about her dad and her mom, and that it's basically the same story about Judith. And it's a good, touching moment that is great for the show. It's only a couple minutes of the episode, but it's very impactful, and it's a great thing to see Rosita have more story and Judith really expand on how she feels about things. And you see the plank is broken. Judith and Rosita want to fix the board, and they try to do that later. While at Hilltop, they come across a whisper because the walkers were kind of being herded, and Lydia saw that. They killed the walkers, and they get this guy. His name is Keith, and he's a whisperer. But is he a bad guy? I don't think so. but they want to get information out of him, so they torture him, and they go down to the basement or the cellar, and they find more whispers. So the guy lied. Well, he was just trying to protect himself and these people. I don't think he's a bad guy, but Jerry and Aaron, they don't care. Lydia's trying to talk sense into them, and I guess Carol too, but Jerry is like, this was Nabila's from Alexandria. So they were inside Alexandria, and if they burned down your home, and even if they weren't somewhat responsible, you're still blaming them, that's for sure. So Jerry's like, no, we're not gonna do this. We're gonna get information out of them, and we're gonna find out what's going on here. So they torture the guy. Lydia's not happy about it. They have a walker that they're threatening is gonna bite him. He ends up biting his hand. He cuts off his hand, or I think the Whisperer cuts off his own hand because Aaron puts down the knife and says, I can cut your hand off or you can do it. And then Aaron walks away, but later on, the Whisperer is still alive without a hand. We see Tommy and Yumiko talking, and Yumiko's like, you're a surgeon. Why are you working in a bake shop? But Tommy's been here the whole time, and he's super happy. He doesn't want to be a surgeon anymore. And Yumiko's like, but you could save lives. And he's like, well, I'm really happy here. Are you happy for me? Don't ruin this for me. So Tommy has been here since the very beginning. He probably has some status and power. Stephanie takes Eugene into the train station. I don't know if they actually have trains there or they're just using the train station. They go up to the second floor to communications. Princess runs interference with Mercer to try and stop him. I'm guessing Mercer gave her $2 bill back because she got it back at the beginning of the episode. Eugene talks to Rosita over the radio. Mercer comes in and arrests him, but they do make contact with Rosita and Judith at Alexandria, and it's kind of interesting that we saw these two people use the radio in prior seasons. So does anybody else know how to use it? Well, they're just here, so they're talking. You see Red all behind Rosita too, so are they in danger? But they get to have some conversation, and then the signal is lost, and then because Eugene asks about how they're doing, Rosita tells them about the food and the Whisper War's over, but I don't think Eugene heard that as the signal breaks up. Like I said, Mercer comes in, kicks the door open, and arrests Stephanie, Eugene, and Princess. So they're taken away, and it's kind of like what is going to happen to them next. Well, evidently they have a system here. If you break laws, you meet a judge pretty much right away. So these three are in danger, and some other guy comes in the room and is like, you broke this law, and this law. You've only been here a day or less than a day, and it's not looking good for you. So what's going to happen with them? Because this guy says you're probably going to get kicked out, they'll take you far away, and you won't be allowed in. Well, they say that they have a lawyer. And Ezekiel's like, yeah, a very good lawyer, a fancy lawyer. That's Yumiko, right? But she's not there. And before anything happens, Lance Horsby comes in. And he comes in basically a man of power, and they're going to listen to him. And he's like, yep, let him go. And the guy's like, well, no, we have to take him to the judge. They have a trial. Because Lance Hornsby says what goes, but this guy is just doing his job. But Lance Hornsby basically runs things. He's the director of operations. So he's probably right under Pamela Milton. So he's like, nope, you're going to let them go. And as he walks out, Stephanie's behind him, or Stephanie, and they look at each other. So what's really going on here? I'm guessing it's another test, but as Lance leaves, they're safe. They don't move, they don't leave. But Stephanie is going to tell them that it's not going to be okay. You're going to have to pay off this debt, or, you're going to be some punishment. They're probably going to take out walkers and do something. They're going to have probably lower job duty. But who is this person and what's going on here? I can't wait to find out. Also, Negan and Maggie are in this episode. They kill walkers in the woods. They work together, and they come to the safe house where the food is. But Negan wants to leave to take the food back to Alexandria. Maggie wants to stay because this is where everybody's supposed to meet. Negan starts packing up the food, and he's like, I'm going back to Alexandria to take it back. We don't have much, but Maggie's like, no, you're not. We have to wait it out. Give people some more time. And again, it's Maggie versus Negan. Negan even asks Maggie, why don't you just kill me? Why don't you try to take me out? And then she throws a knife, but it takes a walker out. They kind of shove each other. They don't really fight, but it's a pushing match. They look at each other, and then the door opens, and it's Father G and Elijah, and they're safe. Well, Elijah seems to be fine, and Father G is wounded, probably from the ice pick in his thigh. They ask about the others. We lost Duncan, Agatha, and Cole. So Elijah is the last man standing from Maggie. Frost is with Daryl, but I don't think he's going to make it. We'll have to see if Elijah is really the turncoat traitor guy. I don't think it's going to happen, but Father G says, then we wait here for everybody. Negan doesn't want to wait. He's like, oh, come on. This isn't building my argument or helping me out in any way. So Negan wants to leave. Maggie's like, yep, we stay. We're going to wait it out here. So who's going to come here? Probably the Reapers. I would assume that these four, Alden is in the church. So what's going to happen with Alden? I still think Alden dies. We don't see him in the episode, but back to Hilltop is where the episode ends. Our group is packing up the cart with the horses to leave. As they're going to leave, Lydia is patching up this whisper. They talk. Carol gives him some mushrooms, and he tells the group about Connie. He's like, you don't think we can change? You don't trust us? Well, we saw the woman in your group leave the Screaming Cave. And he's talking about Connie. And then they decide to go there in first light, like the next day, because it's getting dark. They're going to take the stuff back to Alexandria, but this guy gives them information. So they pack up stuff. Carol wants to leave and go get Connie or go after her right now. And Aaron's like, no, it's getting late. Let's go back to Alexandria first. So they get into the cart with the horses and then go back to Alexandria. As they're leaving, the woman and the 3 other people of the Whispers, because I believe there's 4 other people besides the guy, and maybe we see them again. We don't know, because the episode ends with this image right here as they leave Hilltop, going back to Alexandria, and that's the end of the episode. But overall, it's a good episode. It's Aaron focused, and it's good to see Aaron and Rosita have more screen time, because it's one of those things where they're kind of B or C-list characters, but they do a lot for the show, and anytime they're there, it is interesting. Jerry has more screen time too, so Jerry, Aaron, and Rosita have more screen time, and it's always good to see that. So overall, it's a very entertaining episode. It's not the best by any means, but it's a good development story about the Commonwealth, Hilltop, the Whispers, set up for Connie next week. We'll see her and Virgil on AMC Plus, that is, episode 1106. But let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. Stay safe. Thank you for the support. We truly appreciate it, guys. And as always, tell them Daryl.